This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Well, thank you so much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and I'm pleased to introduce you all to a member of the next generation of the blues. I've been a fan of this young man since he competed and ultimately won and represented the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan for the 2023 International Blues Challenge in Memphis, where he and his partner went into the semifinals. He's been traveling all over the state of Michigan and elsewhere, playing his brand of the blues, which is decidedly more towards rock-infused blues. But I have to tell you, I'm a fan. Now, his new band is called Just Magnetic, and the album is entitled Life Electric. Of the 13 tracks of this one, fully 10 lend themselves to a more bluesy feel, and that's enough to keep me listening. Justin Deason, welcome to Time Signatures, man. How have you been?
I'm excited to join you here, Jim. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's really good to have you, and I just want to dive right in because there's so much to talk about. One of my favorite questions when I talk to musicians is, what are your earliest memories of music?
Oh, my grandmother had a organ growing up, and that was the first chance I had to get my hands on with an instrument. But I always really was drawn to blues guitar, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was my favorite musician. Just watching him perform live and seeing the crazy faces that he would make if he would do his like big bends and the outfits that he would wear and everything. I was just really drawn to that. And so that was kind of my first major influence for playing blues guitar. Right on.
Any other favorite bands or songs that you had growing up that you just couldn't get enough of?
Oh, definitely Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of led me to discover Jimi Hendrix and all of the ways that he blended different genres together and utilizing effects and things like that. When I was about 13, I started taking guitar lessons from Frog of the Beef Tones. He's a local legend here in Michigan and a big part of the blues community. And so Frog kind of was my mentor in that regard, and even had me come out and kind of do some guitar tech and roadie gigs for him to help him out, and nice. Getting me in for some of the blues jams and things like that. And I had the honor of playing with a lot of more people that had a lot more experience than I did, so I was able to learn a lot from those guys.
Yeah. Now, Justin, at what point in your life did you decide that music was going to be part of your chosen path?
Well, I played it in local bands for years and years. And in 2017 is when I got picked up to do my first regional tour with a traveling country band. And I've been doing freelance guitar playing for a large variety of different bands, different artists, playing country guitar, playing rock and roll, playing blues. And so that's always just been a decided path for me. And sure. I feel so grateful for the positive response that I get from everybody, and very lucky and blessed to do what I do. So,
yes, sir. I have to be honest. Looking at you, there's no way I would believe that you had 20 years experience as a musician, and that's a big compliment. But as I looked at your resume, I have to say that I'm really impressed. I mean, you mentioned Frog and the Beef Tones and doing some roadie work for him, but you've opened for the likes of Kid Rock, Uncle Kracker, Alien Ant Farm, Larry McRae, and the Kentucky Headhunters, just to name a few. That's some list of who's who. I mean, did you have any favorites of those that I mentioned, or maybe some that I did not mention along in the path?
I've done an awful lot of shows opening for national acts like that. Quiet Riot was a really cool one to be a part of. Crystal Shawanda, I got to play an opening set for her up in Canada, and it's just been kind of one thing leads to another. Opening for Larry McRae at the Emerald Theater in Mount Clemens, and just kind of soaking it all in from these from these bigger acts that are out there doing what I wanted to do. So
Yeah. Now, I want to step back just for a minute here and talk about your entry into the Capital Area Blues Society's Blues Brawl, which you guys ultimately won with your musical partner, Will Pruitt. Take me through the process of that competition and then your trip down to Memphis and the many experiences that you had down there. So kind of a two-part question.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I first met Will. We were both teenagers and knew each other through the music scene, playing at the bars and the blues jams before we were even allowed to be in there. So I've just known the guy for a long time. We've always had similar styles and similar goals. And so when we decided to get together and form the Deadfoot band, Deadfoot Duo is what the group that we went down to with Memphis. So we got together and we wrote some songs and we put out an EP and signed up for the blues competition. And we've won the People's Choice Award a couple of times, but it was a big honor to win the whole competition for the duo category and then to go on to Memphis and be part of the International Blues Challenge where, we met and competed against people from all over the world. So that was really a magical feeling to be in Memphis and on Beale Street and be able to kind of take in all the history and culture of the where the blues kind of what do they call it, a destination for blues musicians like ourselves.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I know that you won the People's Choice in 22. I was one of those that voted for you. I thought you should have gone all the way in 22, to be honest with you. And I was not surprised that you made it into the semis. I was surprised you didn't make it into the finals because I really like the brand of blues that you and Will brought to the stage in 23. There was definitely one of the biggest things that I heard, and I'm not just powdering your behind here. I'm just sharing with you what other people talked about, that they noticed a definite growth and some experience over the last year before you came in 23. And it was such a cool thing to see you win and be sent down there for that opportunity. But I wanted to ask you, how do you feel that your partnership with Will prepared you for the new chapter that you find yourself opening currently? And I'm not referring to the new album yet. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Sure. Well, when we went down to Memphis, we had a great time. We met some really other great musicians, and I think when we came back home from that is when I decided to kind of sit down and write the next set of songs. And Will and I ended up going different ways. He's got another band called the Rival Sons, and they're doing some awesome stuff right now. So big shout out to all the members in that band. And so that gave me a chance to kind of take control and really kind of do things the way that I wanted to, and ended up playing and singing and playing all the notes, all the instruments on the new album that I came up with Just Magnetic. So that was kind of a solo recording project that I took on once I got back from International Blues Challenge.
Wow. Now, I'd like to go through that process a little bit with you when you go about writing an album, because you talked about coming back and going to work on it. Do you begin with a melody? Do you start with words? Take me through that process a little bit, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I guess it's a little different for each song. Sometimes it's based on an interesting turn of phrase that I say, oh, that sounds cool, and then kind of build the lyrics around that. Sometimes I'll come up with a guitar riff or a chord progression, and the music the lyrics end up being the last thing that gets added once the base of the instruments and music is there. So it just depends on each song. I try not to limit myself to just one formula and just let it come to me as it does. So
nothing wrong with that at all, man. And speaking of new albums, because we talked about your new work at the open of this episode, and I wanted to talk just a little bit more about this, the band Just Magnetic. Now, how did you all come to be together? How many members are in the band?
Yeah, I've got some really great performers, really great players that are part of this project now, and so um, through my experience, through my years here in the music scene, I've got to know some really great people, some excellent musicians. So this band that I've got put together is comprised of myself. Joe Diamond is the rhythm guitar player. He's another guy from Lansing. I had another band that I used to play with a member named Michael Samsky, and he's going to play keys and organ for us. So
Okay.
a good friend of mine, A.T. Welter, is the bass player, and I've got another buddy of mine whose name is Deacon Earl, who's going to be playing some harmonica for us. So we've
Oh,
got a
wow.
good variety of entertainers, and there's an album release show coming up here on March 7th, 2025, at the Eaton Rapids Craft Company. So that's going to be the next big event that we're getting prepared for as we put out the album release show.
Now, I'm excited to hear the new album. I really am. It's interesting that you've got Deacon Earl that's going to be joining you. I want to ask you something because you're both front men. Deacon's always been on his own. I've seen him play with Kid Cincinnati several times. But how does that dynamic work with Deacon on as your harp player?
That's another cool cat that I've known for years and jammed
Mhm.
with many years ago. And so being able to bring him back on board for this Just Magnetic album release show and to be a part of the band is really cool to kind of have a full circle moment. I've got there's no issue there with him doing his own thing or being the front man of his band, and for him to be able to come out and help play some harps and sing some backup vocals and
Sure.
bring all the added value to my band, I think is really exciting. So we're going to put on a heck of a show on March 7th, and then we're booking out for spring and summer and beyond. So
Nice, nice. Now, you mentioned, I mean, everybody that is in your band is friends, people that you've had ties to throughout the years. Are you able to be genuine with them and say, "Hey, you missed a step," or "You're a little flat here"? I mean, how does that work with friends, man?
absolutely,
You have to walk a fine line?
I'm not afraid to be picky and to be particular. That's the nice part about having worked with so many great musicians in the past is there is a certain standard of musicianship and professionalism that I'm expecting from these guys, and I know every one of them is going to show up and know their parts and do their thing. And but no, I don't have an issue saying, "Hey, man, I want to hear it this way," or maybe try something different, or you're speeding up on this part or whatever. So it's all in good spirits, and they're mostly take criticism pretty well. And I'm not the first. I'll be the first one to say that I don't play perfectly either. And that's something you're always just trying to get a little bit better. But definitely had a pretty particular sound in mind, and to be able to execute the songs as they are on the album, I'm holding them to a high standard. So
Sure. Well, now I'm going to flip it around on you. How about creative differences between the guys in your band? Are they able to come to you and give you some critique and some input? And is there enough flexibility for you to mold that sound around them?
yeah, that's what I like about working with a good diverse group of people is everyone's got different musical influences that they're bringing to the table.
Sure.
And our live performance, we're able to kind of stretch some parts out and make it more of an instrumental jam for part of it, or kind of play with the dynamics of the volume and things like that. So I'm open to having them bring their own ideas and expertise into the table. So absolutely.
Very good. Very good. 13 tracks, many of which lend themselves to rock-infused blues, but you have some other goodies in there. I guess you'd call it straight out rock. And the biggest surprise of the album for me is one that was just flat out country. Talk about this album, if you would, from concept to delivery, would you?
Absolutely. Rock and blues and country are all very much stem from similar roots. So
Sure.
they're not all that different. And to be able to have my experience playing freelance guitar with so many different groups and listening to all sorts of different songs, learning all sorts of different songs, I was happy to be able to not kind of box myself in on just one genre with this album, but really kind of blend some of my favorite parts about each one of those. So there are some songs that are very much just straight ahead blues that are inspired by blues legends like Albert and B.B. King, Jeff Beck, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton. There's some more rock-oriented songs that bands like Led Zeppelin, ZZ Top, AC/DC, Jack White, Van Halen, that kind of those influences come out more. And the song that you're talking about is called Better Man Tomorrow. That is my take on just a very classic country song that it's kind of more inspired by Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and some of the older classic country songs. So
Sure.
a little bit of something for everybody on this record.
Yeah. And, speaking of that, as I listened to the music, when I was listening to this in preparation for the interview, it was like one surprise after another. I mean, you really had a nice mix of stuff in there, but I wanted to ask you, because you are now the third musician that I've talked to in the last 3 months who has put out new albums, and all three of you have gone very diverse in your music on the album. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, my question to you is, do you feel like this is a trend that you're seeing on more albums nowadays? That there's more of a mix instead of straight ahead?
I think so. It's good to not feel like you have to limit yourself to the confines of just what someone else defines as a certain genre of music. So no, I think whatever inspires you, whatever sounds that you can make, however your art turns out, to embrace that and not feel like you have to only work on one certain style, because that can get repetitive. That can come across as a one-trick pony, so to speak. So
sure.
No, I'm going to continue to push forward, and there's plenty more blues songs that I've got in the works, but there's a lot of my music is inspired by an awful lot of different genres, different players, different aspects that I try to borrow from all different types of music. So
now you've had a couple pretty big developments since you and I last spoke. You're now a husband and you are a father, are you not?
I am. Yes.
How's that, man? How does that feel?
It's a game changer for sure. I love every minute of it, though. It's very cool to watch my daughter kind of grow up and see all these things for the first time. So it's fun to be able to be a big part of that and help. I'm teaching her how to walk and how to talk and all this stuff. So it's really, really cool. And my wife is great.
Playing
She's
guitar,
an excellent mother, and yet my daughter is very interested in music. She's got a good ear for it. So excited to to embrace that.
Well, I'm really excited for you. I am genuinely. Of course, I've got 3 kids, but they're all raised and gone by now.
You've been through it all. Yep.
All I can tell you, my friend, is enjoy and savor those moments, because when they turn 11 or 12 years old, they decide that they've got all the answers and you know absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not ready for that yet, but
Oh, you got a ways to go, man. You got a ways to go.
No,
Justin,
thank you very much, though.
No problem, man. Where can people learn more about Justin Deason and Just Magnetic? Maybe buy your album, some merch, or book you for a gig? Because I know you talked about being out there, making it available.
Absolutely. So the best place to listen to the album and download and purchase the album is justmagnetic.bandcamp.com. So that's the place that you can go to hear it, but it is available now on all platforms. Life Electric by Just Magnetic is the new album, and I appreciate everyone taking some time to check that out, and your support means the world to me as an independent artist, as an independent musician. So if you want to get in touch with me on the social media, Just Magnetic is the place to do that. So.
Okay. Now, and I want to say something because I put my money where my mouth is, and I believe I was one of the first, if not the first, to get your album, correct?
Yeah, that's funny how it worked out, where we showed up at the same event, and I just had all my ducks in a row and it was ready to go. So I would appreciate the early access there and being able to join you on the program here. So.
Well, it's awesome to have you here. And I just want to say, your album cost how much?
$10 is the price for the album. You can choose to pay more, to contribute more if you want to.
Right,
but
right.
Any support is very much appreciated. So.
And is there thoughts that you may put out a physical CD eventually, or depending on how this goes?
I've got something like that in the works right now. So at this point, it is only available digitally. But if you're interested, you can contact me and find out some more information about doing like a pre-order or a merch bundle, something like that. So,
okay. Well, here's what I want to say. A normal CD runs about $20. Okay. It takes 5,000 download streams to equal the purchase of one CD. So what I would like to do is I would like to encourage everybody that's watching and listening to go out and buy the download. If you want to throw a few more bucks at them, go ahead and do it. I promise you, when it comes out on DVD or on CD, I will have a physical copy. Not trying to brag or anything else, but I feel like if we want to keep live music out there, it is incumbent upon us to spend the money, pay for the download, and then if you want to go listen on Spotify, go ahead. But at least show the support for the musicians, okay?
Yes,
Justin Deason.
Absolutely. The support is appreciated, and just taking the time to listen, but it's tough times for the starving artists, I guess. So
yes.
Purchase absolutely is very much appreciated.
Yes, sir. Justin, I want to thank you so much for your time, my friend. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. And I sincerely wish you the very best as you move forward with your lovely wife and your beautiful daughter. And I'm looking forward to seeing you out and about. I think maybe even on March 7th, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. I hope to see you there, and lots of other familiar faces out there on March 7th, 2025 at the Eaton Rapids Craft Company in Eaton Rapids, Michigan. The event runs from 6 to 10, and we're going to have a good time. I've got a couple of great opening acts. Jameson Livingston is a good friend of mine and another musician, and the Ron St. Germain band is going to be direct support. So it's going to be a fun night full of live music, live original music, blues, rock, country, and a little bit of something for everybody. So bring your friends and come on down.
All right. And I want to talk just for a moment, because I'm going to be earlier that day. I'm going to be at the VFW National Home just up the road from where you're going to be. I'm wearing one of their sweatshirts here, one of their hoodies. And before we wrap up, I wanted to take just a moment to talk to you because I've told you that for my reverse sponsors, I'm going to pick one for every episode and talk about them. So I'd like to talk to you briefly about the VFW National Home based right here in nearby Eaton Rapids, Michigan. The VFW National Home serves our military veterans and their families, offering a place of healing, support, and refuge. They're celebrating 100 years this year. The VFW National Home can use your support. So I'd like to urge everybody to go visit vfwnationalhome.org and make a small donation today. Would you all do that for me? Well, that wraps up this edition.
And big thanks to all of our for all your service, for all of our military people that are keeping us safe, and to the VFW for everything they're doing for them. So
thank you, buddy. Well, that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Once again, my thanks to Justin Deason, but also to you, for without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you that keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.